Letter N, 7 games, one's a bestseller that got 0 out of 10, and mercy, my childhood just got wrecked. First game, I played it as a kid on the C64, thought I mastered it, then I loaded the Atari version and discovered I've been playing the worst version for 40 years. We're 13 letters deep in this alphabet war, and letter N just broke all my assumptions. We've got Proto-GTA City Chaos, a tree-planting wizard from a developer who defied death, 3 ninja games, including the UK's 10th bestseller that critics destroyed, and pinball controls that make you question your sanity. By the end, one system takes letter N. New here? Welcome to the Alphabet Showdown, Commodore 64 versus the Atari XL. One letter at a time, real hardware, side by side. This is where nostalgia meets truth. I'm Tom from Texas, and this is Floppy Deep Dive. Let's see who wins letter N. Boom! I played Neptune's daughter as a kid on the Commodore 64. It was brutal, unforgiving, and I loved it. Fast forward to now. I'm scrolling through the Atari database looking for comparison games, and there it is. Neptune's Daughter. I had no idea this game even existed on the Atari 800 XL. I said right then, we have to do this one. Holy Moses, did I open a can of worms. And man, I'm glad I did. Same underwater rescue mission, totally different personalities. The community already voted on this. Atari Mania users rate the Atari version a 7.7, while Lemon64 gives the Commodore 64 only a 6.5. That gap tells you something. Let's start with the Commodore 64 version I grew up with. Released in 1983 by English Software, it gives off that eerie deep sea vibe from the moment you dive in. The goal's pretty simple. Swim through the maze-like tunnels, free the trapped daughters, and stay alive long enough to do it again. Sounds easy, right? Huh, not a chance. Now, here's what stood out to me then and still bugs me now. The controls. They feel okay at first, but the longer you play, the more that joystick sensitivity messes with you. Players on Lemon 64 call it Overshoot City, and they weren't kidding. You'll nudge forward to grab something and your diver just barrels into the wall instead. Good lord, it's like trying to headbutt Neptune himself. Honest Gamers flat out said that the challenge feels like a design flaw, not a feature. When you're trying to line up shots on those tiny amoebas and your diver's twitching around like he's had too much coffee, it gets old fast. And then there's that octopus. On the Commodore, it spawns right behind you. No warning, no chance to react. Level 2 starts and boom, it's already eating you. No warning, no dinner reservations, just hey, guess what? Your lunch. When you finally get past it, the game throws in that neat mechanic of feeding crabs to the giant sea snake. Here's a weird detail. You have to shoot the sucker plants in the head to make them lower. Miss that spot and you're stuck. No big whoop until you've been stuck for 2 minutes and you start yelling at the screen. Now flip over to the Atari 800 XL, and this is where it got interesting. The octopus doesn't sneak up behind you. It descends from the top of the screen. Completely different spawn behavior. And here's the kicker. When you hit it, it doesn't die. It gets stunned, sinks to the bottom, then wakes up and comes for you again. That one change totally flips the pacing. Instead of a cheap death from behind, you get a few seconds of breathing room, which makes a huge difference in how long you can stay alive. It's like the game suddenly decided to play fair for once. Controls are noticeably smoother on the Atari. You can turn around quicker, line up those crab drops, and navigate tighter corridors without bouncing off of walls every 5 seconds. Atari Age users describe the engine as tight, and I agree. It just plays cleaner. And those sucker plants, you shoot them below the head on the Atari instead of aiming for the head like on the C64. Small difference, but it matters when you're trying to clear a path in a hurry. Graphics-wise, both versions look fine. Colorful sea greens and purples and simple animation. That same chunky diver sprite, but the Atari's motion feels a touch smoother. Not night and day better, just more fluid. Mercy. That's not something I thought I'd ever say about an Atari port. So when you put them side by side, here's what I discovered. On the Commodore, the octopus spawns behind you, kills instantly. Pure jump scare energy. Shoot it, it's dead. The Atari, it drifts down from above, gives you a fair shot. And when you hit it, it just stuns and then comes back. The Commodore 64 can be frustrating with those twitchy collisions and overshooting problems, while the Atari gives you enough control to feel like you've got a fighting chance. One's chaos, the other's chess. Both versions loop after each rescue and ramp up the enemy speed every time. That's where the real pressure kicks in. No checkpoints, no continues, just pure endurance. So here's the verdict. Atari 800XL takes this one. It's not even close when it comes to playability. The smoother controls means you're fighting the game's challenge, not the joystick. The octopus's behavior is smarter. Descending from above gives you a fighting chance instead of instant death from behind. The C64 version I grew up with has its charm and nostalgia, but the Atari's got the game that actually works. Mercy. Atari wins one. 2 takes on the same dive, one frantic and unfair, the other's balanced and playable. Play the Atari version if you want to actually rescue some daughters instead of reliving my childhood frustrations. Boom. I've got a floppy disk sitting here that might be the most balanced Showdown I've ever done. Ninja 1986 Mastertronic, same developer, same code, same moves, and yet one still sneaks out on top. Let's dive in and see who wears the black belt. Ninja dropped in 1986 from Sculptured Software under Mastertronic's Mad line. That's Mastertronic added dimension for those of us who actually read the box blurbs. It cost a little extra, $2.99 instead of $1.99, which back then meant it better be good. Steve Coleman designed and coded both versions side by side, making this one the fairest fight in retro gaming. You're a ninja storming a Japanese palace, grabbing idols, chucking stars and daggers, and slicing your way through guards with that katana. The goal's simple. Collect 6 idols, unlock Akuma's chamber for the 7th, and somehow make it out alive. Simple premise, pure 8-bit adrenaline. On the Commodore 64, Ninja feels just right. The color pops, bright blues, reds, purples, like an 80s arcade cabinet after a CRT tune-up. S-Video brings out that clarity, and mercy, it's sharp. The animation's smooth, your ninja's fast, and those throwing stars arc through the air like butter. Rob Hubbard's music? Holy Moses, that man knew how to squeeze an entire dojo out of the SID chip. The flutes, the percussion, it loops, but somehow never grates. Sound effects hit clean too. Every slash and star lands with crisp precision. Lemon 64 users gave it a 7.5 out of 10, calling it addictive simplicity. And a perfect budget game. No big whoop, but that's spot on. Gameplay's pure joystick zen. Hold fire and push for kicks, punches, sword strikes. Pick up throwing weapons fast because you'll run out quicker than lunch money at the arcade. Now flip to the Atari 800XL, and here's the thing. It's nearly identical. Same palace layout, same enemies, same moves. Steve Coleman ported his own code, and it shows. The colors are slightly warmer, more browns and oranges instead of the C64 cool blues. But the structure's the same. Atari's Poke Chip can't quite match Rob Hubbard's SID music, but it holds its own. The music's there, the sound effects work, and the gameplay, son of a gun, it's the same tight experience. Finnish Retro Game Comparison blog actually praised both for their equal playability, calling this one a rare tie. But here's the kicker. Finnish Retro Game Comparison blog even gave both equal playability scores, and that's rare. This one's a photo finish. Commodore 64 wins. It's not a knockout, but it's a cleaner strike, sharper picture, smoother sound, and that classic Hubbard polish. It's just a smidge better across the board, and sometimes a smidge is all it takes. Atari owners, don't sweat it. You're playing the same great game Steve Coleman poured his heart into. The only difference is how your TV decides to show it off. Ninja proves something simple. Even when the code's identical, how you see it and hear it can make all the differences. Good Lord, What a balanced duel. So this is Necromancer, and I'll be honest, I completely missed this one back in the 80s. Had no clue what I was loading. And mercy, this game is weird. You're a wizard named Illuminar, and your job is to plant trees, not slay dragons or rescue princes, just an honest-to-goodness magical gardener raising an army of trees to fight the evil Necromancer's Tetragorn. It's a 3-act fantasy opera, where every act feels like the dev spun the wheel marked, what the H happens next? Let's dig in. Necromancer sprouted first on the Atari 400 and 800 in 1982. Coded top to bottom by Bill Williams of Synapse Software. Williams was the definition of a one-man studio. Programming, graphics, sound, the works. Born with cystic fibrosis and told he wanted C13. He went on to create some of the most imaginative 8-bit games ever before passing at 37. The C64 port landed a year later, and Create Computing called it one of the strangest yet most imaginative games they've played. Holy Moses, that's dead on. This was Williams at full wizard power. On the Commodore 64, Illuminar finally looks the part. Blue and purple robes, pure sorcerer cheek. Act 1, plant trees while sword-toting trolls march and trample your seedlings. Act 2, head underground where you activate your trees and drop them directly onto spider eggs like a nature-powered anvil crushing everything underneath. Burn the tree with your whiffs to reclaim it. Rinse and repeat. Act 3, Showdown with Tetragorn in a graveyard straight out of a heavy metal album cover. It's polished, colorful, and creepy in all the right ways. Over on Lemon 64, reactions were all over the map. One user called it the C64 game equivalent of a mournful and grim black metal, while another admitted, I don't know what to exactly do, but it's quite fun, fast and weird. That pretty much sums it up. Flip to the Atari and things get a little stranger. Illuminar's green like he got dunked in a potion gone wrong, and those trolls look more like flying dogs wearing capes. The vault bricks trade red for blue, giving it a chill subterranean vibe. This was the original build, and you can feel Williams' raw creativity bleeding through every pixel. The Atari community called it a real creative, unique combination of action, magic, and puzzle solving. Though they admitted the controls were a little non-intuitive, one reviewer praised the aesthetics but warned that most players are unlikely to ever complete it. No big whoop. It's a Synapse game. They weren't known for holding your hand. Now let's talk controls because good lord, there's something else. You hold the fire button just to walk while the joystick moves a separate magic cursor called the Wisp. So you're basically playing Twister with your thumb. It's like trying to play piano wearing oven mitts. You're planting seeds, zapping monsters, swapping control before the wizard and the walking tree, all while praying you don't fall off the ladder. Son of a gun, it's equal parts genius and finger torture. The community wasn't wrong. These controls take some getting used to. Side by side, the C64 wins on presentation. The blue and purple wizard looks heroic. The Atari's green version looks cursed. The C64's red brick vaults feel hotter and more dangerous than the Atari's cool blues. Both play identically, but that extra year of polish gave Synapse time to sprinkle a little extra magic dust on the Commodore version. Commodore 64 takes it. The art pops, the colors sing, and that mystical vibe just hits harder. But make no mistake, both are gloriously bizarre. Bill Williams built a game where you plant trees, crush spider eggs with nature-powered anvils, and duel a graveyard overlord, all before breakfast. Good lord, what a trip. Necromancer isn't just a game, it's a fever dream that somehow works. And on the C64, it looks downright enchanted doing it. 3 games in and the Commodore 64 is up 2-1. Bill Williams' story with Necromancer, born with cystic fibrosis, told he'd die at 13, created masterpieces until 37. Holy Moses, that's the kind of history this series uncovers. If Bill's story hits you like it hit me, tap that like button real quick. Helps the algorithm show this to more retro enthusiasts. Now, real talk. If videos like this are your thing, consider joining my Patreon. It's how I keep buying flippy disks, testing on real hardware, and diving this deep into retro gaming. Links in the description. Even $1 helps. Now, Night Mission Pinball and the wildest control scheme you've ever seen. All right, buckle up for Night Mission Pinball because figuring out how to actually play this thing is harder than the game itself. I'm talking about one of the craziest keyboard setups ever created. On the Atari, you hit Q for quarters, pick your players, then use Shift for the left flipper and, wait for it, the Start button for the right flipper. The Start button? What the H? I've never used that for gameplay before, just to, start the game. On the Commodore, it's only slightly less insane. You got the Commodore key for the left flipper, and the left and right cursor for the right, still Q for credits, but then F7 to lower the plunger and F1 to raise it. Good lord, it's like playing Twister on a keyboard. I did more research figuring out the controls than playing the game, and I'm still pretty sure I hit the wrong keys half the time. But once you get past that keyboard nightmare, Night Mission Pinball from Sublogic is actually something special. Released in 1982 for the Apple II and ported to both the Commodore 64 and Atari 800 XL, it was designed by Bruce Artwick, yep, the flight simulator guy. And you can tell, this isn't just pinball, it's a pinball simulation with a World War II bomber theme and more tweakable settings than a NASA dashboard. Let's start with the Commodore 64 version. First thing you notice, it's completely monochrome, black and white, no color at all. Some early composite video units show random color artifacts, but for most of us, it's just grayscale glory. The table layout is clean, the animation's smooth, and the gameplay solid. Lemon 64 users gave it a 7.23, calling it simple but playable. And here's what made Night Mission legendary. Computer Gaming World once compared it to Raster Blaster and David's Midnight Magic and said it had the best ball physics and fastest gameplay. They weren't kidding, the ball feels alive. When you hit the dive bomb chute just right, it's pure satisfaction. Sound-wise, the C64 version rocks. The SID chip gives you crisp, punchy effects. The drone of bombers, cannon fire, and explosions all perfectly fit that World War II vibe. Then there's the fix mode, 38 variables you can tweak: gravity, flipper strength, bumper kick, table tilt, number of balls, velocity, everything. It's basically the developer's debug menu left wide open for us. You can make the ball float like it's on the moon or shoot off the table like a rocket. Now let's flip over to the Atari 800 XL. This one immediately looks different. While the C64 sticks to monochrome, the Atari version adds a blue and white color scheme. It's not full color, but that cyan glow gives the table some personality. The table text pops, and Night Mission lights up the side like a Cold War neon sign. Reviewers back then loved it too. Video and arcade games called the Atari version's realism obsessive and the configurability unmatched. The ball physics feel identical to the C64, smooth, quick, and responsive. Both versions share that same fixed mode with 38 tweakable parameters. The sound, though, yeah, that's where Atari takes a dive. The Pokey chip can't quite match the C64's clarity. The explosions sound fuzzier, the drones less defined. You still get the full bomber atmosphere, but it's like hearing it through a pillow. So here's the split decision. If you want sharper sound and don't mind monochrome, the Commodore 64 is your table. If you want that blue and white neon glow and can live with softer audio, the Atari 800 XL delivers. Both play nearly identically, fast, responsive, endlessly tweakable. This is one of those rare cases where preference wins over performance. Pick your poison based on whether you value audio, punch, or visual personality. Either way, you're getting one of the best pinball sims of the 8-bit era. First time I fired up Ninja Commando, I thought I'd loaded the wrong disc. All I could do was jump on guys, no weapons, no attacks, just bouncing on bad guys like some kind of medieval Mario. Then it hit me, holy Moses, this game makes you earn your arsenal. Let me show you how that changes everything. Released in 1989 by Zeppelin Games, Ninja Commando is a side-scrolling beat-em-up where enemies pour out of doors faster than shoppers at a Black Friday sale. You start powerless, and every few kills upgrade your arsenal, stars, bombs, mystic air weapon, until you die and lose it all. No continues, no mercy. That's how they rolled back then. On the Commodore 64, Ninja Commando punches above its price tag. Your ninjas got skin tones, detailed outfits, even texture in the backgrounds, yellows, browns, and those nasty birds flying low like they're looking for parking. For a budget game, it looks downright premium. Lemon 64 folks can't agree. Some call it addictive simplicity, others a tedious slog with pretty walls. That's fair. You start defenseless, hopping on heads like a nervous kangaroo. After a few kills, you earn throwing stars, which feel great until you realize they're about as powerful as a paper airplane. Then come bombs. Mercy. These things are fickle. If you're not on the same level as the target, you just wasted it. Finally, the mystic air weapon shows up, and that's when the fun starts. But die once, back to stomping guys again. Still, the C64 version shines. Explosions puff out smoke, the sound effects have punch, and the controls feel just floaty enough to keep you sweating without throwing your joystick across the room. Flip the disc to the Atari 800 XL, and it's like someone dimmed the lights. The ninja and bad guys lose their multicolor flair. Solid colors, flat walls, birds gone. It's functional, but it looks like someone photocopied the C64 version in grayscale. The video game critic called it high-res but slow, and yeah, that checks out. Those jumps feel like you're on the moon, and the enemies respawn before you can even admire your handiwork. The gameplay's still fun though, same weapon grind, same risk-reward tension. It just doesn't feel as alive. Side by side, it's like watching the same movie on a CRT versus a rental copy your cousin taped over. The Commodore's got layered textures, richer colors, and explosions that feel big. The Atari's cleaner but quieter, with flatter colors and softer sound. Both play the same, but only one looks like it had a bit more love put in. Moby Games clocks the overall rating around 6.1, and that's about right. Not bad, not great. Just a solid budget bruiser. Commodore 64 wins hands down. The colors, the effects, the details, it's the full dojo experience. The Atari version isn't bad, it's just bare, like a ninja who forgot his sword. I'll be honest, I thought Ninja Commando was generic at first, but once you get into that weapon progression, it's addictive. You die, you rage, you restart, you keep going. It's got that one more try itch all good budget games secretly had. Good Lord, it's not a masterpiece, but on the C64, it's one polished grind. So this is NYC, the Big Apple, and just like Necromancer, I completely missed this one growing up. Had zero clue what I was doing when I fired it up, and honestly, I'm still not entirely sure. You're Ed Hick, a tourist visiting New York City in your red Plymouth Continental, and the game wants you to hit 12 landmarks before time runs out while your cash bleeds faster than a tourist's wallet at a Manhattan hot dog stand. It's been called a proto-Grand Theft Auto for its open-world driving, except you can't steal cars, and the only crime here is how confusing the objectives are. Released in 1984 by Synapse Software, NYC hit the Atari 400 and 800 first, coded by Russ Siegel, the same team behind Necromancer. Greg Nelson handled the C64 port later that year. Your goal? Visit spots like the Empire State Building, the UN, Grant's Tomb, and the Central Park Zoo. Each triggers a mini-game, climb ladders, dodge bad guys, grab pretzels. It's weird, frantic, and mercy. Your cash drains like you're burning 20s at every corner. On the Commodore 64, the city's bright and sunny, purple and yellow buildings, stats at the bottom. You're cruising in a red car, and holy Moses, the driving. I kept crashing into everything. When you wreck, a tow truck hauls you off and your car vanishes like it's in witness protection. I spent half the game broke, wandering around looking for it like I lost it in a Walmart parking lot. There's no subway, so you're stuck walking or driving, assuming you ever find the car again. The mini games work, but it's sluggish. Over on Lemon 64, opinions split. Some call it a waste, others praise its open-world ambition. Most admit they had no clue what they were doing. Flip to the Atari and it's a whole different city. Dark skyline, teal buildings, orange lights, your car's blue, stats at the top, and you can ride the subway to zip around. Driving smoother, less crashy, more playable, but you walk almost as fast as you drive. So, yeah, weird balance. No tow truck either, so when you crash, you just keep going. Hardcore Gaming 101 even called the C64 a substantial downgrade. Slower, clunkier, worse visuals. Sounds are similar, engines, horns, crunches, but gameplay isn't. The Atari's smoother, adds strategy with subways, and doesn't punish every mistake. The C64 turns each crash into a scavenger hunt for your car and wallet. Atari 800XL takes it. Easier driving, subways for fast travel, no garage hide and seek. The C64 fights you every step of the way, and when a game's already this confusing, you don't need bad controls joining in. NYC. The Big Apple tried to capture the chaos of 1980s Manhattan, and on Atari, it actually does. Good Lord, what a mess. But it's the kind of mess that's fun to navigate. What a mess of a game on both systems. I made it to round 3 on the C64. On the Atari, couldn't even get past round 1. And yet, holy Moses, this thing was the 10th best-selling game in the UK for 1986. Let me show you why people bought it, and why they probably regretted it 5 minutes later. Ninja Master dropped in 1986 from Firebird Software for $1.99, right in the middle of the ninja craze when anything with ninja in the title would sell like hotcakes. Developed by Tron Software, it's basically a mini-game collection pretending to be ninja training. 4 tests: deflect arrows, karate chop wood, block shuriken, and shoot blow darts. You need a qualifying score in each to move on with 3 tries per round. Fail once, and that's it. Simple concept, brutal execution. On the Commodore 64, Ninja Master greets you with digitized speech, "You have qualified," and random karate yells every time you move. Good Lord, it's both hilarious and awful. The first test has you deflecting arrows from 4 directions: top, bottom, left, right. Except the C64 version's got a glitch. Every arrow comes from the same bottom left angle. Once I caught the timing, and mercy, it took forever, I passed. But the controls? They're slower than a 300 baud modem. You're trying to catch lightning with a butterfly net. Next comes the board chopping test. Waggle the joystick left and right to build power, then deliver the strike. Son of a gun, this is a joystick killer. You can almost hear the micro switches begging for mercy. Then the shuriken test shows up, and that's about as far as most people got. Commodore user gave it 0 out of 10. 0. Reviewer Ken McMahon didn't mince words. Zap64 called it cheap and nasty with a 28%. One Lemon 64 user said, "This game was the original catalyst for bubonic plague." Another joked that his joystick begged him not to load it again, yet somehow it sold like crazy, because in 1986, slapping Ninja on a box was all it took. Boot up the Atari 800XL, and it's the same 4 tests, same speech, same yells, but harder. The first test actually works. Arrows fly from all 4 angles this time, which means you'll be lucky to last 10 seconds. It's like playing whack-a-mole with lag. Controls are still sluggish, timing is brutal, and the joystick waggling board chop will destroy your Atari joystick just as fast as the C64 version, assuming you even make it that far. There's almost no community chatter about this one, probably because people gave up before finishing their first round. Moby Games lists it around 34%, which feels generous. Line them up, and the C64 edges out purely because of that glitch. Arrows come from one direction, making it the easier disaster. The The Atari version is more faithful but twice as frustrating. Both feature the same stick figure ninja, same simplistic backdrops, and that same unintentionally funny digitized yelling. Sound? Identical. Gameplay? Identical. Just one version accidentally takes it easier on you. Commodore 64 wins by default, but that's like winning a race where both cars broke down and yours coasted a few feet farther. The C64's glitch gives it a fighting chance. The Atari version is tougher, but not in a good way. More like, why am I doing this to myself? The controls are rough, the timing's mean, and the fun fades faster than your patience. But if you want a true artifact of mid-80s ninja madness, fire it up and see how long you last. Good Lord, some games are best left in the past. And there it is, letter N goes to the Commodore 64. 4 wins to 2 with 1 split, 14 letters down. If you want to support this series, the hardware testing, the research, the deep dives into stories like Bill Williams, I've got a Patreon. It's how this alphabet war keeps going. Link below, and every bit helps. Which game shocked you the most? Was it Ninja Master being the 10th best-selling UK game despite getting a 0 from critics? Drop it below. I read every comment. Hit that like button, subscribe for letter O, and if you're new, watch letter M, where Missile Command nearly broke me. Link's right there. Letter O drops soon. I'm Tom from Texas, and this is Floppy Deep Dive. Real hardware, real truth, boom.